The movie begins with its main character, Bear. He's deeply in love with his friend Nikki and has wanted to ask her out for a long time. The problem is, he's never had the courage to tell her how he truly feels. But this time, he's determined not to wait any longer. To prepare himself, Bear sits down with his friends and practices his proposal over and over again. After watching him finally get it right, his friends encourage him, saying that now he should go meet Nikki as soon as possible. Feeling excited and full of confidence, Bear happily heads home. But that happiness doesn't last long. The moment he arrives, he discovers his beloved pet cat dead. Even worse, the tragedy is his own fault. He had accidentally left his medication out in the open, and the cat ate it. The guilt and shock hit him hard. For days, Bear shuts himself away from the world. He barely talks to anyone and refuses to leave the house. During this difficult time, his life takes another devastating turn when he learns that Nikki's about to leave the country to continue her studies. There's a chance he may never see her again. The news completely shakes him. Bear realizes that if he doesn't act now, he'll lose his last opportunity forever. Soon, through his friend Yan, Bear receives an invitation to a party Nikki is hosting. Instantly, he knows this is the chance he's been waiting for. Determined not to let it slip away, he dresses up, stands in front of the mirror, and once again rehearses everything he wants to say to her. Before heading to the party, Bear stops by a jewelry store. He wants to buy Nikki something special, but he has no idea what to choose. Seeing his confusion, a saleswoman helps him pick out a beautiful necklace. Even after buying the gift, Bear is still incredibly nervous. Joking around, he asks the saleswoman if the store has anything that could improve his luck. She laughs and shows him a few lucky charms. None of them catch his attention, though. Then his eyes land on a strange wooden stick with a message attached to it. "You can use this to make one wish come true." Bear chuckles and asks if it actually works. The moment he says that, the saleswoman's expression suddenly changes. Her smile disappears and she becomes deadly serious. Looking him straight in the eye, she warns him that everyone who has ever used the stick had their life changed forever and never returned to the way it was before. Hearing that definitely made Bear a little uneasy, but he quickly brushed it off. He had never really believed in strange stories or supernatural nonsense anyway. Still, because this was about the girl he loved, he decided to keep the stick he had bought. Later, he arrived at the party. Everyone was having an amazing time, laughing, dancing, and enjoying themselves. But even there, Bear couldn't gather the courage to give Nikki the gift he had brought for her. As the party was coming to an end, Bear secretly signaled his friend Ian to take the others and leave. He wanted a chance to spend some time alone with Nikki. His friends immediately understood what he meant and quietly left one by one. After that, Bear offered to drive Nikki home. The entire way there, he kept telling himself that this was the moment. He wanted to confess his feelings. He wanted to tell her how much he loved her. But when the time came, he froze. Every line he had practiced disappeared from his mind. His heart was racing, his thoughts were all over the place, and before he knew it, they had already reached Nikki's house. Once again, Bear failed to tell her how he felt. As Nikki stepped out of the car and started walking away, Bear suddenly called out to her. Nikki stopped and turned around. "What is it, Bear?" she asked, but even this time no words came out of his mouth. Still, his eyes revealed everything he was trying to hide. Nikki could feel it. Looking straight at him, she softly asked, "Do you love me?" Hearing those words from her completely shocked Bear. It was the last thing he expected. His mind went blank and he couldn't answer. After waiting a moment, Nikki simply turned around and walked away. Only then did reality hit him. He had just let the perfect opportunity slip through his fingers. The girl he loved had practically given him the answer he wanted. All he had to do was say yes. Desperate to fix his mistake, Bear panicked. He pulled out the strange stick he had bought from the jewelry shop. Snapping it in half, he made a wish. "I wish Nikki would fall deeply in love with me." The moment he made the wish, an eerie silence spread through the surroundings. Through the movie's visuals and atmosphere, we're made to feel as if some dark magic has actually been awakened. But Bear had no idea that anything had changed. He was just about to drive away when he noticed something strange. Nikki was still standing at the gate, staring directly at him. Then before he could leave, Nikki suddenly ran back to the car and rushed over to him. "Can I come home with you tonight?" she asked. Bear looked at her in confusion. "Why? What happened?" There was something unsettling about her eyes. They looked desperate, almost terrified, as if she was struggling with something she couldn't control. Nikki nodded nervously. Yeah, I'm scared. I don't want to be alone tonight. I want to stay with you. Yeah, why not? You can come home with me, Pierre says. The moment he says that, Nikki gets into his car. As soon as she sits down, she falls asleep. Her strange behavior leaves Pierre completely confused. Still, he drives her home with him and wakes her up when they arrive. The second they enter the house, Nikki walks straight into his bedroom and sits on his bed. Shocked, Pierre asks, "How did you suddenly end up at my place? This wasn't even your plan." With tears in her eyes, Nikki finally opens up. She tells him that both of her parents are seriously ill. Her mother is in the final stage of cancer and could pass away at any moment. She says she doesn't want to go through all that pain alone, which is why she came to him. Seeing her cry, Pierre believes every word she says. He sits beside her on the bed, and Nikki gently rests her head on his shoulder. She is closer to him than ever before, and Pierre can hardly believe what's happening. Part of him is happy, but another part is terrified. Then, without warning, everything changes. It's as if Nikki suddenly breaks free from some kind of spell. She stares at Pierre with a serious expression and asks, "What are you doing here? And how did I get here?" She quickly pushes herself away from him. Now Pierre is just as confused as she is. He explains that she insisted on coming with him and that they're currently at his house. While Nikki is trying to make sense of everything, she suddenly starts laughing again. It looks like whatever strange force had affected her is taking control once more. She moves even closer to Pierre, acting as if nothing happened. That night, Pierre can't sleep at all. The way Nikki had reacted earlier made him realize something disturbing. What if all of this is because of that mysterious magical stick? If that's true, then Nikki doesn't actually love him. Everything he's been experiencing is nothing more than a spell, an illusion, and he may have taken advantage of that illusion without even realizing it. The next morning, Pierre immediately starts researching the strange piece of wood. He searches everywhere online, but finds absolutely nothing. The lack of information only makes him more confused. How can he believe in something that seemingly doesn't even exist? Eventually, another thought creeps into his mind. Maybe Nikki really does love him. Maybe none of this is magic at all. Lost in that confusion, Pierre walks into the kitchen, and what he sees nearly stops his heart. Nikki has performed some kind of disturbing ritual next to his dead cat. A strange symbol has been drawn on the floor, and the remains of the cat have been arranged in a horrifying way. Whatever happened there, it was clear that something deeply unnatural was taking place inside the house. Pierre was terrified after seeing all of this, but he couldn't bring himself to say anything to Nikki. She walked over to him with a warm smile and affection, making it impossible for him to speak up. Soon, the two of them headed to work together. Excited, Pierre told Ian everything that had happened, including how Nikki had spent the night at his place. Then he asked a question that had been bothering him. "Why didn't you tell me Nikki's parents were so sick?" The question completely caught Ian off guard. "Sick? What are you talking about?" Ian replied. "Who told you that?" "Nikki did," Pierre answered. Ian looked genuinely confused. "I have no idea what's going on here. Nikki's parents aren't sick at all. And honestly, I'm even more shocked that she spent the night at your house. She always saw you more like a brother. I never told you because I didn't want to hurt your feelings." That revelation hit Beer like a truck. At that moment, he finally realized that everything was the work of the magical wand. A deep sense of guilt washed over him. Nikki didn't truly love him, yet he had used magic to force a relationship that wasn't real. He felt like he was manipulating her emotions and taking advantage of someone who cared about him in a completely different way. He didn't want to keep doing this. Beer wanted to push Nikki away and end everything, but it wasn't that simple. She constantly showered him with affection, making it harder and harder for him to let go. Days passed. The two spent nearly every moment together. They ate together, worked together, and enjoyed life side by side. During that time, Beer's life became exactly what he had always dreamed of. It felt like he was living in paradise, and for the first time in a long while, he was genuinely happy. One evening, Beer took Nikki out for dinner. While they were eating, he decided to ask her directly, "Are your parents really sick?" The moment he said those words, Nikki's expression changed completely. A serious look appeared on her face. "No, no," she replied. But every time she said no, her expression changed. First she looked confused, then worried, then she suddenly started laughing. She kept repeating the word over and over, each time with a different emotion. Eventually, she even stood up from her chair and burst into tears. The behavior was so strange and unnatural that Beer started feeling genuinely scared. After struggling to calm her down, he quickly finished dinner and brought her back home. But even after they returned, Nikki's behavior only became more unsettling. She refused to leave Beer's side for even a moment. She stayed incredibly close to him wherever he went. In fact, she followed him everywhere, even to the bathroom. And that's when Beer began to realize that something was seriously wrong. Anyway, the two eventually fall asleep. But in the middle of the night, when Beer suddenly wakes up, he sees Nikki standing silently in the corner of the room. One moment she's laughing, the next she's crying, and she looks completely disturbed. It almost seems like she's under some kind of possession, as if something evil has taken control of her. A few seconds later, she grabs a vase and holds it in front of her face while slowly walking toward Beer in the creepiest way possible. The way she moves doesn't feel human at all. It feels as if a demon is wearing a human body. Then, without warning, she lunges toward him from the side, trying to scare him, and it works. Beer jumps in fear. The next moment, Nikki bursts out laughing and collapses onto the bed. For a second, Beer wonders if maybe she's just pulling a prank. But deep down, everything about her behavior feels wrong. Every day that passes becomes stranger than the last. Nikki's love for Beer is no longer normal. It has turned into an obsession. She spends hours just staring at him. Even her smile has changed. There is something unsettling about it now, something that makes Beer uncomfortable every time he sees it. Unable to handle it anymore, he decides to talk to his friend Sarah about what's been happening. During lunch, the two sit together while Beer opens up about his fears. "I love Nikki," he tells Sarah, "but she's not the same Nikki I fell in love with. She's changed. She's always hovering around me, watching me. Sometimes, her behavior actually scares me." As he's talking, he takes a bite of his sandwich. But the moment he chews it, something feels horribly wrong. The taste is strange. Confused, he opens the sandwich to see what's inside, and instantly freezes. The meat inside is from his dead cat. The horrifying discovery makes his stomach turn. He immediately throws up and drops his lunch in shock. At that moment, Beer realizes the truth. Nikki is no longer the person he once knew. He's convinced that some evil force has possessed her. In his mind, there's no other explanation. No normal person would ever think of making a sandwich out of a beloved pet. Terrified and shaken, Beer heads back home. But what he finds there is even more disturbing. Nikki is once again acting strangely. Her mouth is covered in a thick, mysterious liquid, as if she has just eaten something, or worse, some kind of animal. Her appearance is unsettling, and her eyes are glowing with a twisted sense of satisfaction, as though she has just won some dark and terrible victory. Beer was completely shaken by everything that had happened. Trying to keep his composure, he told Nikki, "Why don't you go freshen up? I'm going to step outside for a while." In truth, he couldn't bear staying in the house with her in that condition. The days passed, and a few days later, Beer decided to throw a party at his house to celebrate Nikki's return. Everyone was happy to see the two of them together because they all knew how deeply Beer loved her. But there was something that felt strange to everyone. Nikki had never really shown much affection toward Beer before, yet now she was acting obsessively in love with him. As the guests chatted among themselves, Nikki noticed how attached everyone seemed to be to Beer. The sight immediately irritated her. Suddenly, she stood up and coldly announced, "You're all going to die." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at her in confusion. Then she continued, saying she hated anyone who got close to Beer. Her words were so disturbing that the guests became visibly frightened. Even Beer realized that Nikki's obsession had gone far beyond normal love, and that something was seriously wrong. But she wasn't finished. Nikki grabbed a bottle lying nearby and smashed it against the table. Before anyone could react, she pressed the jagged glass against her own face. The horrifying scene left everyone terrified. Beer quickly apologized to his guests and asked them to leave, explaining that Nikki hadn't been feeling well lately and needed medical help. After everyone was gone, Beer confronted her in anger. "What's wrong with you?" he demanded. "Why are you acting like this? Are you trying to punish me for something?" In a strangely calm voice, Nikki replied, "No, nothing like that." Even then, she tried to move closer to him, but Beer stepped back and finally snapped. "I'm tired of this," he said. "Your obsession is driving me crazy. I can't take it anymore. I'm taking you back to your house. You can't stay here any longer." With that, he turned and walked away. The moment he left, Nikki's expression changed. Furious, she stormed into the kitchen and pulled out a large knife. Then she slowly started walking toward Beer. Beer froze in confusion and panic. As he tried to back away, he stumbled and fell to the floor. At that moment, he realized exactly what he had to do if he wanted to stay alive. "No," he said quickly. "I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. We'll stay right here together. I'll stay with you." The instant she heard those words, Nikki dropped the knife. Just like that, her terrifying rage vanished and was replaced by a loving smile. She took Beer to the bedroom, and that night she slept beside him, tightly holding onto his arm as if she never wanted to let him go. Late that night, when Beer realizes that Nikki has finally fallen asleep, he quietly gets out of bed and sneaks outside. He calls Sarah to meet him because she has become deeply worried about him as well. Sitting in the car, Beer tells Sarah everything that's been happening with Nikki and how her condition keeps getting worse. But before he can explain the truth about the mysterious magical stick, Nikki suddenly wakes up. When she notices that Beer is gone, panic immediately sets in. She rushes outside and sees Beer sitting with Sarah. The sight fills her with overwhelming jealousy. What happens next is something neither of them could have ever imagined. Without warning, Nikki appears beside the car and smashes the window. Then, in a terrifying frenzy, she repeatedly slams Sarah's face into the steering wheel. The attack is so brutal that Sarah dies on the spot. Everything happens so fast that Beer doesn't even get a chance to react. He is left completely stunned, unable to think, speak, or even run away to save himself. After killing Sarah, Nikki calmly walks around to the other side of the car and hugs Beer as if nothing had happened. By this point, Beer is exhausted. He's terrified, broken, and desperate to end this nightmare, but he has no idea how. Finally, he decides to return to the same shop where he originally bought the magical stick. There, he explains everything to the saleswoman, how he made a wish using the wooden stick, how that wish has completely backfired, and how his life is being destroyed because of it. The employees tell him that escaping a wish isn't easy. Once a wish is made, it must come true, and no one can simply undo it. After thinking for a while, they come up with a possible loophole. What if someone else makes a new wish on Beer's behalf? The idea sounds promising. Without wasting any time, Beer buys another stick and goes straight to his friend Jan. He explains how the stick works and asks him to make a wish that will return Beer's life to normal. At first, Jan agrees. He takes the stick in his hands and seems ready to help, but then greed takes over. Instead of wishing for Beer's life to be restored, Jan secretly wishes for immense wealth. The moment he snaps the stick, money starts raining down from above. Beer is devastated. At the exact moment he needs his friend the most, Jan betrays him for personal gain. Now the chance to fix everything is gone. Heartbroken and hopeless, Beer returns home and finds Nikki still trapped in that horrifying state. He's terrified, exhausted, and completely out of options. Then he remembers one final detail the saleswoman mentioned. She had said that if the person who made the wish dies, the wish itself dies with them. Realizing this may be the only way to end the nightmare, Beer makes a heartbreaking decision. He spends a few quiet moments looking at Nikki with love one last time. Then he takes a gun, places it in his mouth, and pulls the trigger. Beer dies instantly. The moment he dies, the wish finally comes to an end. Nikki is freed from its influence and suddenly regains her senses. But she has no memory of the horrifying events of the past few days. When she sees Beer's lifeless body lying in front of her, she breaks down in tears. She screams, cries uncontrollably, and then notices her own condition. She looks like someone who has completely lost herself. Overwhelmed by grief and shock, Nikki collapses into despair. And with Nikki crying beside Beer's body, the movie comes to an emotional end, leaving viewers with a powerful lesson. Be careful what you wish for, because taking the wrong path to fulfill your desires can lead to consequences far worse than you ever imagined. With this, the story ends here.